Okay, guys, here we are, another episode. Today we are going to discuss Formula One. So, McSweeney, I know you're not the biggest Formula One fan. To be
Yeah,
honest, I'm more of a casual fan as well. So I'm going to let you obviously lead with the questioning, and obviously
yeah,
between the three of us, Tom's obviously the biggest F1 fan here. So yeah, I believe you have got a list of questions. We're
yeah.
just waiting on Mr. Maloney to come back because of his shitty headphone and wireless issues, as usual, I might add.
So should I should I start to sort of set the scene a bit?
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Because
You lead with it. You lead with
yeah,
it,
I'm
and
gonna
then
say
yeah,
with Formula One. I mean, I'm a massive sports fanatic
yeah,
across the boards, mainly football, tennis, rugby, boxing, that sort of stuff. You know,
yeah.
Olympics when it's on, cricket to a certain degree, which we were discussing before we came on air. But with Formula One, I have had fairly limited exposure to it, I suppose.
Mm,
I do remember one particular summer, which was 2007, and you possibly will remember this because it was the first year that Lewis Hamilton burst onto the scene. To use Michael
mm,
Rich's
hmm.
phrase, burst onto the scene, and it was during the summer where we had obviously Silverstone is normally it used to be the same Sunday as the Wimbledon final, which I thought was wrong because they're two massive sporting events in Britain. You
Mm,
need to have them separate. They can't be on the same day. Me being a massive tennis fan, I was always going to choose the tennis over the Formula One. But I remember that being a massive period for Lewis Hamilton. I believe he got pole position in that race, but Kimi Raikkonen won it in the end. But yeah, that was like quite an exciting thing in terms of just like a general sporting moment. Is this like a new hero that we've got? Because we had Andy Murray at the time
mm,
coming through. We had obviously Ronald Sutherland was still doing what he was doing back then. He still is to a degree now. The Team GB team in 2008 in Beijing, unbelievable across the board with the medal haulage. And
hmm.
yeah, it was quite an exciting time. But what would you say got you into sport initially? I'm going to start with Mudge actually.
To be honest, like literally, just as you said, a bit of a sports fanatic. I'd say I'm very similar to you. Football, boxing, MMA, tennis, cricket. I more or less grew up loving sport. And to be honest, it was probably the same with Formula One. I was never really a huge fan of cars. Like growing up, people always choose one path, cars or sports. You know what I mean.
Yeah,
And I was never really a huge fan of cars, like just in general. But the Formula One used to be on, I believe it was ITV1 back in the day when it used to show the live races. So yeah, naturally, I'm just sitting at home on the weekends, got the TV on and just started watching some random races. Just following them literally from start to finish. I know it was about 90 minutes to 2 hours long, and I just started watching it, and I just loved it. Just grew to love it naturally. So again, this is why I started off by saying I'm a bit of a casual fan because I'm not, following it week in, week out, as I used to before. And the reason for that is once it got taken over, I think it was Sky who came in and they were sharing the rights with Channel 4, I think it was at the time. So
mm,
Channel 4 used to show all of the races. They took it from ITV. They used to show all of the races, and then Sky came in and took half the races, and then Sky took all of the races, and Channel 4 would only show highlights. And I'm the sort of guy, I need to watch something live, whether it's me, as you know, I love to stay up late on the weekends watching the boxing live or the MMA live. Even
yeah,
last night I was watching the Yard and Benavides that finished about 3 a.m. Even though it was in fucking Saudi Arabia, I still finished at 6 a.m. local time in Saudi Arabia just to appease the fucking American,
Jesus.
the American viewage, if that is even a fucking word. So it's highly frustrating, at times when it comes to trying to watch a live event. So yeah, with Formula One, obviously, like I said, Sky took over the whole thingy, so I sort of went off it. Like I wasn't watching it live week in, week out. I was
Yeah,
still following the result. But at the same time, when you get the years where, let's say Hamilton is just running away with it, Vettel was running away with it for a few years, the excitement is just not there. but on the years, in the years where it's a little bit closer, like this year, like a couple of years ago with Verstappen and Hamilton, that race that came down to the wire. If the actual title
2021.
race is close, yeah, 2021. If the actual title race is really close and tight, I do tune in week out to watch the race, because I want to see what's going on. But when
Yeah,
someone's going to win the championship already and it's done and dusted, like the last couple of years with Verstappen, I just
Mm.
not really that bothered. If I'm honest, I might watch the odd race here and there, but yeah, I'm not following it week in, week out. But like I said, I still, like to know who's won the race of that weekend. Like
yeah,
even I checked my phone in the morning, and obviously I saw with the race. It happened last night, I believe. I saw it was on a Sunday, ain't it? But I
Yeah, yeah.
saw obviously the McLaren boys got disqualified, so it makes it a bit
Mm-hmm.
tasty for the next two races because it's gonna obviously Verstappen has obviously won some points to catch them up. So yeah, I hope that answered the question.
yeah. No, no, I did. And what about you, Tom? What first got you into Formula One?
I'd say for me, you guys are able to hear me now, okay? Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Cool. For me, back in the day, I'm more of a modern Formula One history buff. I wouldn't know anything past 2018, 2017, maybe. So anything prior to that, I will know it with like a fleeting interest. I know that Hamilton in his first year, I think he's got the record for the most podiums for a rookie, which I think it was about 9, and then he's broken records then left, right, and centre since. But back in the day, I'd say I had like a fleeting interest in it because it was the same old characters. It was the same old characters and it was the same old team. I mean, Michael Schumacher back in the day, you knew that Ferrari were going to win every single race known to mankind within that season itself. I mean, Michael Schumacher was an absolute goat, and he still is the goat. Um, there were the Ferrari guys were brilliant back in the day as well, and then McLaren had their day and so on and so forth. Um, but I'd say for me, it was my missus when I met Margarita back in. Don't quote me the actual year. I'm going to say 2013, 2014, we started going out. But again,
yeah,
don't quote me on that. Hopefully, she doesn't hear me. If she doesn't hear this podcast, she'll say, "No, you're wrong." But she actually watched it quite religiously with her dad, and her dad is still about. But when she was living at home, she lived at home until she was like in her late 20s. Every weekend, no matter what happens, they would sit down and they would watch the race live. If it was over in Oz or if it was over in China or somewhere in the world where it was in the middle of the night, they weren't able to do that. But they would have an interest at on a on a Saturday afternoon. They would make sure that they're sat down to watch quali, so then they could then see who all qualifies where within the actual race
yeah,
for the actual race. And then on Sunday, they made sure they were sat in front of the TV for 2 hours, 2.5 hours. If there was a red flag, it would obviously last until 2.5 hours or 3 hours, and then watch the race until the end. So she literally told me on a weekend, that's what me and my dad do. And I was like, okay, I'll have an interest in doing that with you, not to fill that kind of spot as to being your dad, but I'll have an interest in actually doing it because Mama has shown an interest in what she does and what she likes, and I started to like it. I started to enjoy it. I started to enjoy um, watching the cars go around and seeing how the cars actually drive and seeing the team camaraderie and performance behind it and seeing how long it takes them to do a pit stop. I mean, 20 years ago, not even that, like 15 years ago, to do a very quick pit stop back then, I think was about 6 seconds or 8 seconds, which was like brilliant back then. Nowadays, you can do a pit stop in under 1.5 seconds,
wow,
which that is the driver pulling up the car getting jacked up, four wheels being taken off, four wheels being put on, giving the car petrol as well, the jack going down and then the car going. That car is only stationary for about 1.5 seconds. And if that pit stop takes 3 seconds to do, that's a slow pit stop. And then you're rivals can then capitalize on that. Um, yeah, it's just the speed of the races and the way that it can change so quickly, and then having a certain advantage over certain other rivals, and then the tyre choice being making a massive difference, and the like tenths of a second or like a hundredth of a second being like a major difference. And let's be honest, everyone loves a crash as well. And some of the crashes that they have in them in these races are nuts. They can cause millions of pounds worth of damage just by hitting someone's tire, and like the cars flip over, and it's crazy. I absolutely love it. I live and breathe it on the weekends, but I absolutely adore it, and I'm really appreciative to actually being introduced to it.
Fair play. Nice. Good answers. And that leads me on to the next question for both of you. And
Mhm.
I'll start with Tom. Who is your favourite driver and constructor?
Um, it's one of those. I mean, the overall goat would be Michael Schumacher. The guy did it. Like he literally been there, done that, got the t-shirt. My favourite, and I know you guys will know the answer to it anyway, but it's Lewis Hamilton. And I've used to get moans and groans in previous podcasts when I think it was who is your favourite Brit sports person, and then you guys went,
Yeah.
oh, all he does is drive a fucking car. But to come into the sport itself, have the joint most world championships as Michael Schumacher, most wins, which I think is 100. Oh my God, is it 104? And all the most podiums is 104,
Yeah.
or like it's 90 odd. I honestly can't really remember for the life of me. Um, Nearly winning the world championship in his debut season when he was literally fresh off the block. Um, Coming down to winning his first world title. I think back in the day, Brazil used to be the last race, didn't it, Mudge? I think that's when
Yeah,
Yeah.
he
Sao
won it
Paulo.
in the last race. Yeah, in Sao Paulo. Now it's Sao Paulo, Vegas, Qatar, and then Abu Dhabi. But back then
Yeah.
it used to be Brazil. Used to be the last one. And I mean, coming onto that, I mean that would probably be one of my favourite races. But I'll kind of talk about it quickly, where he was coming up against Massa, and it was literally the last race of the season. And whoever had the most points out of that race was going to win the world championship. And I think Massa had actually finished
They were
first,
celebrating.
and yeah, it was live on TV. They were celebrating within the garage because Lewis Hamilton was still out of on track, and he wasn't going to get enough points. And I think it was the second to last corner of the actual season itself. And Timo Glock was going slow, and then the commentators even said, "Oh my God, look at Glock, he's going slow." And then Lewis Hamilton went right past him. Hamilton was trying to get past him for literally half the fucking race, and then the guy's car literally just burst, and then Hamilton passed him. Massa saw it on the screens, and they were all going mad and jumping around and all sorts. And then they looked up at the screen and then saw Hamilton
Yeah.
go past, and they went shit. And then they
The
stopped
iconic moment.
celebrating live on
On their
screen.
faces.
Yeah,
Yeah.
But wasn't
and
Hamilton like, was he like fifth or something in that race, or even further back? But that one position basically catapulted him in
Yeah.
I think
the whole
so. Yeah.
It was the
championship.
position.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. He just needed
Yeah,
that additional position.
I remember my
Mm,
heart pounding watching that. My brother put it on a Sunday evening, and even
mm,
me, it was like, okay, something big's going to happen here. And you know, again, with any sporting event, whether it's World Cup final for England rugby or the cricket, or whatever, I get
mm,
really invested in it, and it's like all of a sudden, it's like I can't take my eyes off it. And
yeah.
I remember at the time, that was my first year of uni, and yeah, that was massive. Going into uni next day and just talking to people about it. Even my lecturer was like raving about it. He was a Stoke fan, and we were talking, instead of talking about football, we were talking about that.
Yeah.
So yeah,
There you
no,
go.
that's good. So, Mitch, who would you say is your favourite driver or constructor
Now it's a
and
tough one
constructor?
because again, like I said, I would class myself as more of a casual fan. Like I have favorite drivers in one specific season. Let's just say I wouldn't say I follow a driver, religiously
Yeah,
throughout their career. Um, I have to give a special mention to because I reckon this I think it was 2009 or 2010 whenever the season was when Braun came in. That was the
Mm.
first full season I watched from start to finish again because it was on terrestrial TV.
You watched
Um,
it the first season when Braun came in.
no, no, from start to finish, every single race.
Oh, okay,
I'm
right.
saying like before that, like I remember the race you guys just mentioned, obviously with Hamilton just winning it.
Mm.
But again, I was watching it sporadically. But I do, you know, remember watching that season from start to finish, the Brawn one when obviously Jenson Button won it, and
Yeah.
I got to give a special mention to Jensen because he's just such a likable guy. Even now as a pundit, you know, he's just such a nice guy. You know, he's got a nice smiley, you know, like happy face. And I was always I was just so happy for him that he won it obviously that year. But even afterwards, after that. With Vettel and with Red Bull, those 4 years of dominance that they had. I don't know why. I just liked. I did like Sebastian Vettel as well. I don't know why. But right now, if I think about it, but I just always wanted him to win. You know, I don't know what it was. I guess obviously, as you know, I wasn't really a huge fan of Hamilton that much. More so for his life outside of Formula One, if anything. But yeah, I don't really have a favorite constructor or favorite driver. I like
Yeah,
certain drivers. I also liked Webber as well. Even in those seasons where they were both battling it out, Vettel and Webber, you know, I would have liked for Webber
Mm.
to have won one of those championships as well. And I don't know, I just like the look of the Red Bull car as well. You know, that sort of dark blue, purpley. And yeah, those couple of years of dominance that they had. If I had to point my finger at a specific team and constructor, I probably would say Red Bull and that time period when they were obviously doing really well. So
yeah.
yeah, yeah,
No,
I'd have to say them.
yeah, no, that's fair. So next question naturally is a reverse of that, and it's who's your least favorite driver or constructor?
Who's going,
And
me or
well,
Tom?
I'll go back to you, Muz, yeah, to answer that first.
I know you're expecting me to say Hamilton, but I wouldn't. I wouldn't say he's my least favorite. You know what I mean? I actually would not say he's my least favorite. Um, Constructor wise, I mean, I don't know how to, again, to pinpoint a specific team. I've never been a fan of Ferrari, if I'm honest with you. I don't know. Maybe it's just because they're supposed to be the most popular one. You know, I've never really wanted them to win. I can't really explain it. In terms of drivers, I guess it's more also more of an underdog story, you know, especially obviously what happened with Braun and stuff. You know, Ferrari is known as the most popular car brand, blah blah blah. You know, I don't really want them to win. I want a different team to win. To be honest, even of those years of the Mercedes dominance of Hamilton and obviously that one Rosberg season, you know, I wasn't really a huge fan of the team. Um, I'm struggling to think of an actual driver who I did not like. Um, so yeah, I can't answer that question in terms
Yeah,
of my least favorite driver. But again, if I had to point the finger at someone, I really don't want to choose Hamilton because I do appreciate what he's achieved in the game. As much as I might talk crap about him, he he has, and of course the whole jibes about just driving a car around in a circle. Of course, there was a lot of tongue in cheek in that. I do appreciate what a fucking hard job it is to be a Formula One driver. Um, Tom, you answer the question, and if I can think of a least favorite driver, I
it, it,
will
it'll probably
bring it
trigger
up.
something, right? I reckon it'll
Yeah, yeah,
trigger
yeah.
something as soon as he says that. Yeah, so Tom, who would you say your least favorite driver and or constructor is?
I mean, I'll probably answer it with my least favourite constructor, and then they will then go into last favourite, well, least favourite driver.
Yeah,
Red Bull for me. I mean, Red Bull. I will give praise where it's due. They've come into the sport a very young team back in the day, and they've won multiple constructors championship and multiple world championships due to their driver. And they've got drivers who are world champions, where they got Vettel won it 4 times. Eden went on to other places. Um, You've got Mark Webber. Again, him and Mark Webber's rivalry was brilliant, and there was always rows going on and so on and so forth. Ricardo, Perez, Albon, Sonoda. But for me, because it's more of a favoritism thing, and I understand why he's favourite, and it's Max for Verstappen, but he's every single person that you put in the team with him to be his co-driver in the other car, he just doesn't get along with. There's always a row, there's always a Barney, and there's always Max Verstappen who always comes out the main man, who comes out the main man who's got the decision in his favour. Um, he's won the world championship multiple times. I get that. He's the brand is kind of based around him. He's very venomous driver. Like a lot of the times, going into a corner where it's him against someone else, he would always be the more dangerous driver going into it. But then he would then point the finger of blame at the other person, saying that wasn't me, that's not my fault, I don't deserve a 10-second penalty for anything like that. It was their fault. Where if you look at it, he's driven them off of the road, and it's I don't know, it's kind of like a politics thing. A lot of the decisions within Formula One, when it comes to like an accident happening or a crash, it is down to, is it X's fault, is it Y's fault, or is it a racing incident? A racing incident being there's nothing that neither driver could do about it. It just happened, and so on and so forth. But the amount of times it happens, it's Max Verstappen's fault. But anyway, Red Bull as well, they've used to have Christian Horner. Christian Horner, he's been there, done that, got the T-shirt within Formula One too, and he used to be the the team principal for Red Bull. So he was like the main man. The team principal being John Jarrett's favourite word, Simon, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah.
Love that word. So the buck would kind of stop with him. But he's obviously had his controversies over the last few years, and he's obviously now not that team principal anymore.
So, I was going to say, would you say Verstappen's just like a natural disruptor type character? Like, you know, almost like the
He's
kid at school that was like calling out in a classroom and being like just a general nuisance, but at the same time being quite, I wouldn't say popular, but like just someone that kind of is in the limelight, and because of what they do in terms of being destructive and disrupting sort of natural proceedings, they kind of tend to get ahead of everyone else.
Yeah, I'd say so. I think if something doesn't go their way, then they get very arsy. But then again, you've got to be like a Formula One driver. I know you need to know how to drive a car. That's the
Yeah,
first thing. If you can drive a car and you know how to go forward, you know how to go backwards, you know how to turn left and right, But it's probably as well because his dad, Jos Verstappen, used to be a Formula One driver too. And I
yeah,
think a lot of the issues within Red Bull are based around his dad. And his dad says that if we don't give Max the benefit of the doubt, then we're going to go elsewhere. There was like there were calls for him to go to Mercedes. I think
Yeah,
was that the start of this year or
yeah.
the end of this year coming?
Even last year, there was
Yeah,
talks about when Hamilton was obviously going to leave. They knew he was going to be on his way out, so
yeah,
they were saying,
and
"Oh,
like
will Max fill that seat?"
yeah, and Mercedes and Red Bull, that would literally be someone going from Man United going over to Man City, or from Real Madrid over to Barcelona.
yeah.
It's like your main rival, and
Doing
you
Luis
know,
Figo, wasn't it? With the
yeah,
horse's head and
basically,
like,
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah, there'd be like a pig's head photo on the pitch and that shit.
yeah,
Um,
yeah,
but yeah, it's kind of one of those where he is a bit of a twat, but then again, he's a multiple world champion and he's got the pedigree about him. His
yeah,
dad was involved in an accident where he pitted his car, and they fueled the car when he had pitted, but then the fuel pump came loose when they were trying to put fuel into the car. Fuel then literally burst everywhere, and then a fire started when the car was actually pitted. So I think they managed to put the fire out, but Jos, his dad, was stuck in the actual cockpit of the car. So he had really bad burns and so on and so forth down his face. It kind of shows you the danger of driving a car within that sport. It's pretty risky
yeah,
and
yeah.
dicey.
hats off to all of them really for because even my mate Lavin, he's a quite big Formula One fan. One time we were just watching it, I think a bit of the Belgian Grand Prix or the build up to it, and he was like, "Yeah, do you realise like the risks that these guys take and the sort of bravery they put themselves through in these races, even the qualifiers." But yeah, no, I've got to say, compared to other sports, like where let's face it, footballers are pampered to the nth degree. Tennis players obviously they got it hard in terms of it's an individual sport, but they have their entourage around them and people obviously nutritionists and dietitians and coaches and the rest of it. But I get the feeling with Formula One, it's like you're literally putting your life on the line, aren't you? In those vehicles. So yeah,
Yeah, they're very risky. I mean, it's always a safety first kind of thing, and now they've have it where there is like a halo around the actual cockpit of the car. So if the car does flip over and it lands on its top, there has been times where it's near enough landed where the driver's head has landed first on the floor, and then the
yeah,
car then kind of follows. But with the halo, if the car were to flip over, the halo would hit the floor first, and then the driver, and then the rest of the car. So it's kind of a safety first kind of thing. I mean, kind of taking the limelight, sorry, but wasn't it? I can't remember. It was during COVID, and Roman Grosjean, who's kind of been around the circuit quite a bit, and it was in Qatar, and it was during the first lap. They'd done the first two corners and so on and so forth, but then the car then reared off the track and went
yeah,
straight into the side barrier at about 200 miles an hour. As soon as it hit the actual barrier, the car split in two, and the part of the car where he was stuck in the barrier and burst into flames. And it was on live TV and all sorts and so on and so forth. And they then, like, like a minute or two later, it showed Roman Grosjean getting out of the car eventually and then going off to safety and so on and so forth. But near enough on live TV, you had a man being cooked to fucking death. Near
yeah,
enough on live TV, broadcast to the whole world. He's fine now. He's not racing. I'm not too sure if he raced after it. I think they told him not to. But you're the kind of person to be a Formula One driver where you're like, no, I really want to go back into it. It's my life and blood. But you get told, look, you're getting too old for it, or that no one wants you anymore. Just fuck off elsewhere. Then a lot
I,
of them
I
then
I
go into
think,
like the IndyCar.
yeah, I think he did another form of racing. He might have done the Le Mans, or he did something else.
I think
But
so.
he
Yeah.
just didn't. He didn't do Formula One. But one incident which comes to mind for me is it was Massa actually when you remember like a little nut or a bolt fell off one of the cars while they were
Mm,
driving, and it literally hit him in the helmet. It went through his fucking
yeah.
helmet and hit him in his
Yeah.
face, and he had facial injuries from it. I think he's still got scars to this day.
Yeah.
If that had gone just a little couple of centimeters to the left or the right, it would have gone straight into his eye. He would have been blind in one eye.
Yeah.
So it
mm,
just goes to show a little bolt fell from a car while they were driving. This is why even if there's a little piece of debris on the track,
Mhm.
safety car, they come and
Oh yeah.
clear it out because it's
100%.
so dangerous, man. One little thing. Obviously, they got, as you said, they got the halo now, but do you remember, quite a few years ago when Webber flipped his car over, which
Hmm.
was we looked crazy on the TV watching it. But if he had landed in an awkward way, I know when they put their helmet on, they've got that sort of casing, that goes around their neck and stuff, which protects their neck. But
Hmm.
you're traveling at fucking 230 miles per hour. You fall flat on your head. God, it's just hard to imagine, yeah. So again, go back to the point of how dangerous it is and how much they put their bodies through, all those G's going through their body as well.
yeah,
Literally for the sake of a hundredth of a second. Because when you think about qualifying and you see the results, they're all within a second of each other. Every single
Hmm.
car from top to bottom, it literally comes down to tenths of a second, hundredths of a second, just to
Mm.
get that additional position. It's crazy.
mm,
No, it's
yeah,
crazy.
yeah.
There you go.
Hats off to them. So the next question I was going to go for was your favourite race of all time, Mudge.
It's going to be a no-brainer. It's got to be the one in 2021. Oh my God. The
Mm.
drama from start to finish. I remember watching it live. When I was abroad, actually. And obviously, the whole drama from the races. Verstappen has to obviously finish above Lewis in order to win the championship. And then, you had the beginning part where I think for a couple of laps, who was it Sergio? Was it Perez? Checo Perez, wasn't it? Who
Yeah,
was
Perez was
Verstappen's partner, and so you
yeah.
had him trying to hold him off for a couple of laps. It was just the drama of it all. So you had that in part of the race. Obviously, you had one or two safety cars as well, which made it interesting. And of course, right at the end, a couple of laps to go, another safety car, and they're right, and Verstappen had his tire change. It was the most drama. I mean, probably ever in a race, right? I'd like to think. I can't remember another race in recent times being full of that much drama. The scenes.
Probably I can't remember the year, but when Hamilton and Verstappen had that crash in the British Grand Prix, and Verstappen went out, and then Hamilton just went on. Oh fucking hell, was that 2021 or 2022?
But I'm talking about title winning, right at the end, right at the death. You,
Oh
you,
yeah.
you know what I mean? In terms of an actual race where, the championship relies on this race. And the
Mhm.
fact that Hamilton was clear and dry, right out in front, clear and dry, going to win at Canter, and then a safety car happens. Was it who was the guy who was it Jarno Trulli or someone like that? I can't remember the name. Who's the guy who crashed or who or the safety car came out? I remember the same at the end. Red Bull saying, yeah, he's going to get a lifetime supply of Red Bull, because of the fact that he crashed. I can't remember the name of the driver, truly, for some
Levitti
reason.
or Levetti, or was it a Williams driver?
I can't remember, man, but
Yeah.
I can't remember the name. But the fact that it happened, and
Mm.
then you get the cameras showing the Mercedes garage, and they're absolutely losing their shit. What was it
No,
Toto
no,
Wolff
no,
saying to the
Michael, this isn't right.
yeah, 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 yeah. And then the response from the race director, Toto, this is car racing or something. He said something like that, and you're like,
Yeah.
whoa, shit, mate. I was off my feet. I was like shouting and screaming at the TV. No way is this happening? And then obviously he still had to overtake him. Of course,
Mm.
he's on the fresher tires. He was on faster tires. And then when he did overtake him, oh my God, yeah, it was just crazy. And then Hamilton tried coming back at him and he couldn't do it. It was just so much fucking drama. And it was, for me, by a country mile, the best race I've ever watched. Again, from start to finish, everything that happened, it was just amazing. And I remorse the documentary on it later on, and it just brought back all the memories from it. So yeah, that one by a country
So,
mile,
so
mate, was
was
amazing.
that so Hamilton was like the hot favourite, yeah?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. He was a hot favorite, and he was out in front. He was always going to win, and he wins that race. He wins basically. If he finishes above Verstappen, he
Yeah.
wins the championship. So Verstappen wasn't going to win, barring a miracle, basically. And
Okay.
the miracle happened in being, the safety car right at the end, a couple of laps to go, and that
Yeah.
obviously reset the grid where they were right behind each other because the safety car they had to slow down, and
Okay.
then but Verstappen was on the fresher tires, so he had the opportunity to overtake because Hamilton had been on the older tires, and then you just knew shit's going to hit the fan, something's going to happen, and it did. And obviously Verstappen went on to win the world championship. And you think about a matter of margins, if Hamilton had won that one, he would have had that additional win, championship win, and he would have
Yeah.
overtaken Schumacher as well. So, yeah, no, I don't think he hasn't won one since, has he?
No, well, I'm looking up. I
So
was looking
yeah,
earlier, and because that would have been five in a row for him,
yeah,
five on the
yeah,
spin, wouldn't it? So
that dominance with Mercedes as well. So
yeah,
yeah, no, it was a big, big race, and I can't imagine how it must have been like in that Mercedes garage after him
yeah,
losing that one. It would have fucking stung like mad, um,
yeah,
because of everything on the line. That eighth championship to go ahead of Schumacher as well, and to lose it in that manner. Fuck me, yeah, horrible, horrible. For
yeah.
I wouldn't have liked to been in that team on that night. Fuck.
Tom, can you one up that particular answer, or would you go for the same race
I
as
would
being your
go.
favourite?
Yeah, I've kind of got two answers. Well, two answers for it. I mean, that one itself was nuts. I remember that was it was just prior to Christmas, wasn't it? Well, the start, the end of the season is always prior to Christmas.
Yeah.
I was out for my other half, Mags, her family do like a little pub Christmas do. The week or a few weeks prior to Christmas, and we all went to a pub in Ashford, which is about 20 minutes drive away, and it was the day of that final race, and went into the pub. It was like a harvester, so I was expecting no TVs to be there at all, so I didn't have to see anything. I turned off the notifications on my phone, so I didn't see anyone mention anything, and the BBC Sports notifications were turned off, so nothing came up. And as soon as I turned up into that pub, there were wankers everywhere wearing a Mercedes t-shirts or Red Bull t-shirts. And I was like, oh, there's a fucking TV here there, over there in the corner. So I asked if we, party of 20, could be moved somewhere else so we couldn't watch their TV. And they kindly said, yeah, it's fine, not a problem at all. So, so on and so forth. And cracked on with the meal, all happy days, yada, yada. And then all you heard all of a sudden was just groans coming from one side of the pub. And I was hoping it was like football fans. I don't know what game was playing at like the Sunday evening game, but I was like, it's surely too late for it to be the Formula One still, surely. And I looked over, and it was all the Red Bull guys and all the Mercedes guys are going, oh fucking, oh my god! I was like, oh no, something's happened. I had to get out of there. I used to smoke then, and I had to get out of the pub for like ages, just go get like a little bit of fresh air to not get any news about anything whatsoever. And I didn't,
Mate, so you
thankfully.
didn't even get to watch it live then? Fucking hell.
No, I didn't even get to watch
Damn.
it live, but we recorded it on our Skybox.
Mm.
So get home, get ready to put it on. The first thing that comes up on, we have like the TV guide screen, and when like you surf
Yes.
through the channels and so on and so forth.
Yeah.
There was a poster on the Sky TV guide that says Max Verstappen World Champion 2021.
Oh no.
And I was like, oh
Fuming.
my fucking God, I've not even watched the race. I was so religious and turning off the notifications and not getting
Yeah.
annoyed and disturbed. And I had to turn on the TV, and the first thing I see, Max Verstappen World Champion 2021. I was like, right, there's no point in me watching the fucking race now. But I ended up watching the whole race, and I was like, Jesus Christ, what a finish. I can't remember the year. It was after 2021, so Monaco. I've walked the Monaco circuit, where me and Max went over there a few years ago. It's a gorgeous circuit, stunning, love it. Walked the hairpins, so on and so forth. You would probably know the year, much, but it was the year when during Monaco, normally wherever you qualify for that race, you finish in that
Mm.
position after the race because it's such a hard place to overtake people.
Yeah.
Um, during the whole race, they'd done like 35, 40 laps. I think there had been like one or two overtakes. It's normally boring, but it's just like the glitz and glamour. All of a sudden, there's a weather warning of rain coming in, and a lot of the teams then go to their drivers over the radio during the live race. You can actually hear you can hear the radio calls. All the teams are going, oh, we think around wrap, so on and so forth. There's going to be a little bit of light rain around corners, so on and so forth. And then their drivers are like, oh, okay, cool. I'll be fine. And then they go, oh, it's a little bit of light rain, only for like a minute or two or for like a few laps. Don't worry about it. 5 minutes later, it fucking pissed it down along the whole circuit. And all of the teams were then going to the drivers, right, what tyres do you want to be changed to? I was like, right, I need the full wets. When you think of Monaco, you don't think of full wet tyres. You think of sunshine, gorgeous sunny sunshine. You don't think about rain. And there were just cars rearing off left, right, and centre. And this was like during the last 10 laps of the race. So it just turned the race on its head totally. I can't remember who won it now, but it was just added to the drama. Probably again, I can't remember the year, but Germany when Hamilton came from 14th and finished first. Was that 2011? That was a
I
pretty
don't
good
know, mate.
race.
Yeah,
Verstappen in Sao Paulo, he loves that circuit because he started, was it 17th or 18th this year, a couple of weekends ago, and he finished second because he timed it perfectly. And then I think the year prior to that, I think he started 14th and he actually won it, or maybe he started 16th and actually won it. Um, yeah, there's loads of different races that you could pick, but
yeah.
those two for me were the main ones.
Well, it actually goes in quite nicely to one of my surprise questions. And actually, I know, Tom, you've been to Abu Dhabi.
Hmm.
Am I correct? Oh, you've been to Abu Dhabi.
Yes.
You just
Yeah.
said you've been to Monaco, but was it for a race or was it just to kind of look around?
It was to look around. It was a holiday, but there was a lot of the race circuit barriers had been set up around
Okay.
certain areas.
And have you been to Silverstone?
I've not, no.
You're not. So you've been to two different venues, yeah?
Yeah.
If you were to go to one venue, I was going to say
Mm.
outside of the UK for Formula One, but if your answer is Silverstone, then fair enough. But what would be the venue that you would choose to go to that you haven't been to, and why?
Um, I've had conversations with the missus about this. I would say the Netherlands, so the Dutch Formula One. It's probably the cheapest Grand Prix to do, and it's the closest one to do. I mean, you would think France would be closer, but the one in the Netherlands is literally right along the coast. The atmosphere for Max Verstappen would be brilliant. Um, Everyone would be wearing orange, so you wouldn't know whether they're a British fan for Lando Norris or whether they're a fan for Max Verstappen. The circuit itself is brilliant. Um, I think it's a brilliant circuit to actually do, and I think the atmosphere would be pucker. Singapore,
Yeah.
I'd love to do. Vegas would be pretty cool to do as well, but that's kind of like a new circuit, so I'm not 100% sure about it. But for me, the Dutch would be brilliant to go and see. What about you,
That's
Mitch?
interesting. Yeah, Mudge, what's your shout? And it can be Silverstone. It doesn't have to be outside UK.
To be honest, if I had to choose a race I wanted to go to, I would say obviously there's multiple options, but a night race, it's dark, it's lit up. Obviously Abu Dhabi is the most obvious one, but is it Malaysia also in the night, or is it Singapore? One of them is in the night as well, isn't it? I think it might be Malaysia.
It's Singapore.
Malaysia's during the day then, yeah?
Yes, it
Yeah,
is.
so
Yeah.
it'll probably be Singapore or Abu Dhabi. Again, a
Yeah,
night race. I'll be
Mm.
really. I've never obviously gone to a Formula One race ever in my
yeah.
life. So yeah, a night one would be good. So yeah, probably Abu Dhabi or Singapore. Of course, it is hard to get tickets, and it is hard to go unless you're forking out a shit ton of money. But yeah, I would like to obviously tick it off one day on the bucket list, saying, "Oh yeah, I've attended a Formula One race." I can imagine it'll be amazing just hearing the cars zooming past. So
Yeah.
hopefully one day
Well,
I'll get
you
to do
might
it.
bump into like the Crown Prince or one of the sheikhs at some point. So just ask them for tickets, yeah, and they'll sort you out. But yeah, and actually, I was going to ask Tom briefly about his experience in Abu Dhabi. What was the best experience about that for you, Abu Dhabi, when you went?
Um, so I would say when they started the second lap, and it sounds weird because they've obviously started it. So forth. So the tickets that we had were on the start finish. So literally where they park up on the grid to start the whole race. Um, so they've counted down the lights. They've started the race, and then you had a screen like on the start finish. There's always a screen which is like the live version of what's spread it out to the actual TVs around the world, so you kind of see where they are on the actual circuit. And about 20 seconds out, so a few corners out, everyone started to stand up with their phone to get ready for the cars to actually come round to the start finish to start the second lap. So I was like, okay, cool, I'll do this. I'll do the same thing. when those cars came around the corner, they're still all grouped together. So they all 20 cars will go past in about 10 seconds, 15 seconds. And it was probably one of the best sights I've ever seen in my life, bar my children being born, bar everything that my children do nowadays. And it's probably one of the best noises that I've ever heard in my life, bar any noise that my child makes and so on and so forth. It was, I've still got the video on my phone somewhere. And every now and then, when someone talks about Formula One that I didn't realise was a Formula One fan, I show them that video just
Yeah,
to make myself feel really good and show, how look at you, I've actually been to a fucking race,
it,
you
it's
fucking wanker.
you know it's funny that because it does that kind of make sort of the hairs on the back of your neck stand up.
Mate, it's the no it's these you would never think a car like this would make this kind of noise. This is better than the Lamborghini going down the road or a Ferrari going down the road. These cars are more pumped up than those kind of street cars. It is unbelievable. Like the roar going by, like your bones fucking shake. It almost felt like
Yeah,
it's just ridiculous. And ever since I had that feeling, I've just been gagging to find another race to go and see. But the thing is, tickets to go to these things are so fucking expensive. And it's not even that; it's also the cost of tickets to fly out there and like the accommodation and so on and so forth. It's just an expensive sport to do, which is an absolute shame.
yeah.
It's the
Well,
only real shame.
aren't they all now? Aren't they really? But yeah, like I
Yeah.
say, Formula One from the outside looking in has to be up there with most expensive, really. But
Yeah.
I've got two final questions, yeah, and I know we started
Mm.
a bit late, so we got enough room for it.
Yeah.
And but obviously for both of you. And I would like to know whether you guys think individually if Lewis Hamilton will win that record-breaking eighth world title. Will that happen? Yes or no? I'm going to start with Mudge.
I can't see it happening. Ferrari are in a bit of a. I know they were pushing Max in terms of being a second team, I think, for a couple of years. It might have been the last couple of years, but they just aren't there anymore. You've had obviously McLaren coming good this year, as well as Red Bull still being at the top. I just think Ferrari's glory days are gone, barring a miracle. And he's what, in his late 30s now, maybe even touching
40, just
40.
kind of 40, mate. Yeah.
Yeah, I
Mm.
can't see it, mate. No, I think the age is catching up. Yeah, he can carry on racing, similar to the likes of Rubens Barrichello, into his mid 40s, but I can't see him winning another championship, mate. I think he's done.
Okay, but Tom, would you concur?
Yeah, I'd say so. I mean, he's had a unofficial war of words with the Ferrari or higher uppers within the media, saying that the car's not good enough and the team's not
Hmm.
good enough. And then the CEO of Ferrari's come out and basically said the drivers should do their job, which is to drive the car and stop fucking talking.
Yeah,
And this is a guy, this is like the CEO of Ferrari itself saying it. Um, he's said himself, Hamilton, that he's not looking forward to the start of next season. I mean, it's the negativity in it. He's still a brilliant driver, but he's not got the attitude, in all
yeah,
honesty, to go and win it. And I don't think any team would really like to have him with that kind of attitude. To be honest, I would say no.
yeah. Because even like mentally, you tell yourself with what you say, it's always going to be. Even when I was reading about this Las Vegas race, it was like I think Lando Norris said he wasn't looking forward to it. And not me
Mm,
sort of reading that fairly. I don't know enough about the sport to make too much of a judgment, but even just hearing that from a sportsman saying that, it's like, yeah, it's being a bit too honest there for my liking. I get obviously it's good to be honest at times, but I kind of think you should give a more media trained response and be a little bit more robotic.
yeah, I mean, and they are like when they do their interviews within the media paddock, like whether you're a driver who's been knocked out early because of a crash or because your car's just been fucked up. When they do the interviews live on air, they are trained and they do have someone from that team's like media there too, with like a camcorder, or with what were the dictaphones called back in the day at SH? Was it
was it the Olympus ones, wasn't it? Remember?
yes, that's the one. They all hold that. They
Speech
all
mics.
hold that.
Yeah,
Yes,
speech
the
mics. Yeah,
speech
that was
mic.
it. Yeah, those
They
wretched
all
things.
hold
Yeah,
they all hold that whilst the driver's talking to the media, and then it's literally just like a fit bird who's actually holding it, and then she's like
yeah,
part of like the media team. Um, but then their answers are very much, oh, it's just one of those weekends, and I'm looking forward to next weekend where we can start from scratch. But I'm
yeah,
really appreciative of the whole team before doing their job, where you know for a fact they are gagging to say those fucking wankers. That wanker drove into me. Fucking, I'm gonna stab him when I'm seeing next time. And they're like, you can't give that kind of answer, obviously, but they're very media trained
yeah, yeah.
people.
Look.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, I appreciate people being a bit different and not being bland and boring and predictable. But at the same
Mm,
time, it's like when it gets down to the sort of the burn down of a championship, it's like I almost like kind of want my players, if it's a team or a certain athlete I'm rooting for, I want them to be like really sort of just focused and single minded and being like, no, I'm not going to give anything away, cards close to the
yeah.
chest sort of situation.
Mm.
But yeah, that's interesting to get your thoughts on that. And my final question actually goes back onto that. Um, who do you both think will win this year's championship? I'll start with Tom.
I mean, even with the whole bollocks with the McLarens being disqualified for this race, Lando Norris was in a brilliant position. The way that he's fought back has been next level. His mindset has just changed has just turned on his head compared to the start of the year where Piastri was just running away with it, and then he's managed to claw it back. And then Verstappen, annoyingly, has still been in the fight, but brilliantly added on to the fight for the actual championship itself. But even with the disqualification of Norris and Piastri, Norris can mathematically win it. I think he's got a better Verstappen and Norris and Piastri's point total by two. And luckily, as fate would have it, there was a sprint race. Sprint races isn't every single weekend, every single race, but they do a sprint race where if you finish first, you get 8 points, second, 7 points, all the way down to eight where you get one. So now that's like half race distance or a third race distance. So it's only like 20 laps or 30 laps. So if Piastri wins that, and if Norris wins that, and then Piastri and Verstappen finish third or below, then Norris basically wins it.
Yeah,
Long-winded answer to basically say Norris will win it
yeah.
in my eyes. Yeah.
Mudge.
Yeah, I mean, it's in his hands.
Mm,
Again, as Tom just touched on, the comeback he's made, Piastri was out in front and more or less going to win it with ease as long as he didn't fuck up. But thankfully for us, he did fuck up. He's messed up a few races, and even the comeback again from Verstappen
mm,
has made this season very interesting and very entertaining. So yeah, obviously going into it, three drivers can still win it. I think it's still, although Max did obviously get good points this week, it's still again in Norris's hands, and he, as long as he doesn't, get any, does not finish, DNFs or,
mm.
another major cock up, it's in his hands, and as long as he finishes the race with decent positions, it's his to lose basically. So I'd like to obviously see
Yeah,
him do it. Obviously being a Brit and McLaren haven't won one in a while, rather than Verstappen winning it again, it'll be good to see a different driver win it. So yeah, anyone out of Piastri or Norris, I'll be happy to win it. But yeah,
Hmm.
obviously Norris being a Brit, let him win it. Yeah, I'll support a Brit for once in a
yeah.
sport. So yeah,
But bad boy, mate. Bad boy.
yeah.
Should be automatic
Yeah.
about who it is. Even your
I
mate
want
Tyson
oh,
Fury, yeah.
and I might have put a cheeky tenner on him, a free bet on him to win the BBC Sports personality. So yeah, that's another reason why I might want to do
Yeah.
it.
I mean,
Yeah,
you know
yeah.
what, you wouldn't put it past him if he was to do that, because why wouldn't you vote for someone like that? First timer, carries himself well, ticks all the boxes, really.
No, I think obviously with this day and age, when it comes to the sports personality and everything, obviously what happened with Button all those years ago, fucking Giggsy came out of nowhere and won
Oh
it. And
yeah,
do you remember
Mm.
that they made the
yeah.
memes and stuff? They were laughing at Button. Or he had his victory speech ready, and he's standing there in second place while fucking Giggs out of nowhere just fucking won it. So yeah, you never know what
Well,
will happen,
I'll tell
but
you
yeah,
what would have been interesting if we'd have found out about Giggs's transgressions before
yeah, exactly.
before that. If the adoring British public would have been so quick to vote for him.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
Um,
you can't really take away the trophy or the accolades that you've won. So it would have been good if they took that away from him, and then Button did get his BBC Sports Personality year after all.
yeah, that's a good shout. That yeah, 2009. But yeah, you mentioned it earlier, and
Hmm.
yeah. So we'll wait and see, and that concludes this episode. So thanks, guys, for your input,
No worries.
Thank
Cheers,
you,
and
boys.
thank you, and
Thanks
yeah,
for
yeah,
being in with us.
two
yeah,
weeks,
all
two
right.
weeks time, do it
Yeah,
all again.
we're not sure what we're going to discuss, but we'll figure it out. We'll think of
I've,
something.
I've got a
Yeah.
couple. Yeah.
Oh,
So
excellent.
by that time, we will potentially have a new world champion in the Formula One circuit.
Yeah, so we can
Yes,
give a little intro into that as well.
yes,
Anyway,
for sure.
cool. Cheers,
All
boys.
right.
Much
Cheers,
appreciated.
Have a good
guys.
one. Cheers.
Everyone,
Bye.
cheers,
Bye,
bye.
bye.